Hi everyone, it's Starlene here. I am a vibrational astrologer and an intuitive tarot reader. This is my weekly video on the upcoming astrology for the week ahead. I mainly look at the vibrational astrology as well as some of the more bigger aspects that are going on in the sky, the bigger things that are going on in the sky. And this is for the week ahead, starting with Monday, December 2nd, going to Sunday, December 8th, 2019. So a little summary of the video. If you guys have been watching my video, last week was really a great week. We had a lot of like positive vibes going on. We had the new moon in Sagittarius. We had a lot of like energy that was like propelling us into the future with ourselves. So this week we have a different sort of energy. So I know I've been talking about, and I will continue to because it's a huge thing, the Saturn and Pluto conjunction in the sky that's going to happen and exact in January of 2020. So because they're so close, they're getting closer and closer until January when they actually conjunct, and then they slowly start to separate. And because they're so close, when one planet, connects with Saturn, because Saturn is before Pluto, it then shortly after connects with Pluto. So it's like we get a wham bam. And those two planets can be rough. They can be rough in the sense that Saturn like gets rid of things that aren't necessary or aren't part of our next journey. It doesn't like frivolous stuff. It doesn't like things that are, not meaningful. So Saturn has a way of cutting away some of those things in our lives, especially under these influences. And then when the planet moves forward, whichever planet we're talking about, or even a midpoint, because there are a lot of midpoints with Saturn and Pluto in it this week. Pluto is like regenerative. It gives us an opportunity to like regenerate ourselves, to see what is the next path for ourselves. If you think about even society, our society in a sense is sick. It feels like we're on the cusp of needing to either get well or things are going to go a little bit more haywire than they already have. So it's like in that sense it's the same on a personal level. We are all needing to like have a new perception with ourselves, let go of the old paradigm, whatever that happened to be, and embrace something new that is actually healthy and actually going to propel us into a positive space in the future. So that's what this Saturn Pluto conjunction is going on. It has a lot of depth to it, and I will get into more of it as I talk about the other planets and the midpoints connecting with it. But I wanted to give you a little summary of this week. It's not necessarily going to be the easiest week, but it's also not really necessarily going to be the worst week either. So just so you know, there's a lot of deep stuff going on this week. Allow it to happen. Allow yourself to flow with it, because when you start to hold on to something and not want to let go because you're holding on because it's what's familiar, that's when you fall into trouble. So that's my little summary of the video. So I will be talking about the midpoints, of course, because that's what I always do in these videos. I will also be talking about the bigger aspects going on and a gemstone suggestion for the week. I welcome you guys to find me online. You can go to my astrological consulting website. I also have tarot consultations up for sale on that site. It is rockstarastrologer.com, and my online business card where you can find all my social media and other websites that I have that I operate. It's starlenebreiter.com. Feel free to comment on the video. Let me know what you think about it, and of course like it and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I do put these videos out once a week. It's been wonderful doing it and hearing the feedback from everybody. I really appreciate it. So thanks for sharing your ideas and thoughts about the video and how it's resonating with you in your life. So I wanted to tell you guys a couple things that are going on in my world that you might be interested in checking out yourself. First is a Vibrational Astrology Conference. It happens March 27th through 29th in Gainesville, Florida, and of course next year, 2020. It is the cutting edge of vibrational astrology. Vibrational astrology, it is a different system of astrology than what you're probably used to seeing, because it's an evidence-based approach to it. So a group of astrologers, one that I'm part of, we research different things in astrology, and we figure out, you know, different things, and in that conference they're presented to everybody. So it's a pretty cool conference. If you don't know anything about vibrational astrology, there's a pre-conference that happens, and that you can learn from David Cochran himself. You know, the pre-conference just gives you like a, you know, a quick understanding of VA itself. We call it VA for short. And then the conference tells you all the new stuff that's coming out. So it's pretty cool. It's really exciting. I will be there too, and I will be doing like live mini readings. So if you want to get a reading from me, just come seek me out, and I will try to schedule you in and get you in to get a live mini reading while I'm there. So that, and then in February on the 22nd, which is a Saturday, February 22nd, 2020, I am in, let's see, Davie, Florida. It is a meeting with the NCGR Florida Atlantic chapter at the Nova University. I'm doing a day-long workshop. So you can, and the workshop is on vibrational astrology. So you can join me there if you want to learn about a vibrational astrology. Feel free to check that out. It's, you know, obviously the nuts and bolts of it, but maybe not the whole of it, because to learn VA in its entirety takes years. But there's a lot of information there if you're interested in learning VA. So you might want to check that out there as well. Links to all these things I'm talking about are in the description box. So the last thing I wanted to share with you guys before I jumped into the midpoints is I've been watching this thing unfold. My friend Tico, he's a wonderful tarot reader, and he's been taking information that I've given him for the last couple weeks about the astrology for the day. And what he does with it, he then throws a couple tarot cards and explains how the tarot cards, you know, relate to the astrology. It's really pretty cool to watch because I am an astrologer and also read tarot cards, but it's really cool because it gives an extra layer of like something to think about for that day, the energies of that day. And it actually, you know, more often than not really relates to what's going on with the astrology that day, and even if it's like on a personal level or like a global level. So check out his videos. They're on YouTube. His link is also below. So with all that said, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the midpoints for this week. We have a lot of them going on. So okay, the first one I'm going to talk about was one that actually ends today. Today is the 2nd of December, Monday, the 2nd of December. It is Saturn at the midpoint of Mercury Neptune. It started on the 30th, and it goes till tomorrow. The peak of it is today, so which is Monday, the 2nd of December. So it went from Saturday to Tuesday, and this has us really thinking deep about ideas. It could be somewhat pessimistic, you know, or it could be somewhat idealistic. I've talked about this before because it happened during the full moon in Taurus that happened, and that was November 12th through the 14th, and the peak that time was on the 13th, and that was November. So, you know, this is like a instant replay of it. And the reason it's a replay is because Mercury was retrograde then. So now we're like maybe in the midst of feeling these deeper, darker feelings kind of come to the surface. So this may be something you're dealing with in the current moment, you know, Monday, and then it ends on Tuesday. So if you're feeling that way, remind yourself that your thoughts are what you create within your reality. So if you're feeling pessimistic or negative in your thoughts, make sure you remind yourself that your thoughts are what you create. It's your reality that you create. And as it is your reality that you create, you can change that into being something that you really truly want, as opposed to something you don't want. So pay attention, be aware of your thoughts during this time, and you can choose your thoughts to be something that you want as opposed to something you do not want, because we are creating a reality in that sense. So it's your choice in a way. I like to give that idea of like, this is the astrology, this is what it feels like, and it's your choice on how to deal with it, because it's a vibration, it's an energy, and this is true about all of the astrology. It's an energy that we're all like intertwined in, and we get to choose how we want to handle that, you know. So that's a good way to look at it too. The second midpoint that had started last week, that does end this week is the Sun at the midpoint of Mercury Jupiter. This started on the 30th and goes to the 7th, and the peak is on the 3rd. So it's last Saturday, 2 days ago, to this Saturday, and the peak is on Tuesday. That's tomorrow. I should stop saying tomorrow because you might be watching this another day, but anyway, the peak is on Tuesday, which is the 3rd. So the Sun at Mercury Jupiter, this has intelligent ideas flowing. This has us wanting to be talkative, us wanting to share ideas. We really may have some success or find some success in our vocation during this time. It will be a lively time. You know, Mercury is communication, it's our mind, it's our thoughts. The Sun is the light, and Jupiter is something that amplifies it. You know, I heard an astrologer that I love, Diane McBride, she said Jupiter is the magnifying glass in the solar system, which it is. So it kind of magnifies whatever it touches. So it's touching the essence of us, and it's touching our mind. So it's making things big. So it's kind of a nice energy. I like it. You know, it's flowy. You know, get in the groove of communicating and sharing ideas, because that would be a really great time to do that. And of course, like I said, the peak is on the 3rd, which is Tuesday. So these are new midpoints. Moving on, the new midpoints that start this week and end this week. The first one is Jupiter at the midpoint of Sun and Saturn, and this starts on the 2nd, which is Monday, and it goes to Saturday the 7th. The peak date is Wednesday the 4th. Okay, so what Jupiter at Sun Saturn is finding some kind of joy in solitude. So Jupiter again is that big, you know, that magnifying glass. The Sun being the essence of us, the vitality of, you know, everyone. And then Saturn being that kind of somber, you know, kind of like, I am at the bare bones of what I need. I'm not looking at something frivolous. There is a beauty and joy that is found during solitude during this time. And this is really giving us an opportunity to expand our awareness, because the thing of it is if you're not quiet and you don't give yourself that time of reflection, that time of meditation, that time of solitude, that if you don't do that for yourself, then you're so like up in the air thinking about things, and like there could be chaos going on in your mind, and it really is hard for you to actually have something, you know, tune into spirit, because you're so, you know, always up in the air, always having, you know, chaotic thoughts. That time of solitude that you allow yourself to have, I should say it like that you allow yourself to have, really is a wonderful time for you to be able to reflect and to tune in to you know, source energy. And if you don't do that, it's like, you know, when things are chaotic, and everybody gets that, people around, da 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 da, I'm doing this and that, you know, there's not, you know, the solitude is so buried by all of that you don't hear it. But if you practice, you know, have a mindful practice, you have a mindfulness, a meditation practice, or something of the sort, of a practice of solitude, even just being quiet for a few minutes, you know, if that's all you can start off with, then, you know, if you have that, then you're starting somewhere. And when you have that during the times of chaos, you're able to like be more balanced. You're able to find your center more, instead of, you know, allowing just everything to take over, and you get sucked into that, you know, chaotic mind, you know, that like, I guess, monkey mind, if you will. So try to practice that during this time, Monday through Saturday, so the whole week, with Wednesday being its peak. It's a great time for us to practice that mindfulness. If you don't have a practice with yourself already where you're practicing, you know, mindfulness, this may be a wonderful time for you to start doing that. So think about it. The next midpoint is Pluto at the midpoint of Mercury and Neptune. This is starts Friday through Sunday. The peak is on Saturday, so it's the 6th to the 8th, with the peak on the 7th. Pluto is like our deeper subconscious, our deeper understanding, our deeper, you know, energy, right? And Neptune is more of the subconscious, more like the deeper, higher ideals that we want, that, you know, mind that's not necessarily, that part of our mind that's not necessarily in the forefront. This is a time when, and then Mercury is connected in our mind. So this is a time when we might feel a little anxious if we're not expressing ourself in a healthy way, if we're not allowing some of those things from the subconscious to come forward. You know, this may be coupled, since it is during you know, Saturday and is the peak day, and that's the end of the Jupiter Saturn Sun Saturn midpoint I just talked about. You know, maybe this is a time when you notice in your quiet time some of the things that you have held down come forward. Allow it to. If you have to emote something, emote it, you know, allow it to happen. Well, I think the thing of it is when we hold things down and we like stuff it down and we don't face it, at least to allow it out, then that's when we have trouble. That's when we have difficulties. That's when we get anxious. That's when we get nervous. So even more so, you know, with the last aspect I talked about with Jupiter, Sun, Saturn, with the Pluto, Mercury, Neptune, I really think it's important for us to find that focus, find that inner calmness, and see what's there. Don't be afraid to look in the box of, you know, your subconsciousness. Don't be afraid of that, because if you're afraid of it, then you're not allowing yourself to, you know, express yourself the way you need to. And I feel like this energy is allowing you to express yourself in that light. So moving on, we have the midpoint of Venus at Mars Neptune midpoint. This starts on Friday and Saturday. It peak, Friday and Saturday, and the peak is on Saturday too. So that's the 6th and the 7th, and the peak being on the 7th. This, you know, brings in Venus with Mars. Venus and Mars are the energies of the male and the female. You know, Venus is about what we love and what we are attracted to, the beauty that we're attracted to, Mars being our energy, and Neptune being our highest ideals. This could be that we feel as if we're like having some kind of peculiar expression, or some kind of like interesting expression comes out of us in regards to love. This may feel like we have feelings for somebody. For instance, we may have feelings for somebody, or somebody has feelings for us, and that comes to light. But it doesn't seem like it's reciprocated. You know, it may be feeling like a surprise of some sort. You know, things that come to you during this time, allow that to happen. If you're like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I kind of have feelings for this person, a friend or something like that, give yourself time to like really see, do you, or is it just, you know, in this moment I'm feeling this way and it's been something I've never felt before. It could just be the energy of this time where, you know, like I just talked about the Pluto, Mercury, Neptune, things are coming out, and maybe it's something for you to examine, but maybe it's something for you to just like look at during this time, and then leave for another date to see if you want to actually tell the person, you know. And likewise, if someone comes to you, a friend, and is like, I'm feeling things for you, maybe, you know, you want to examine that before you reply or something like that. You know, I feel like it could just be misdirected in some way or another because of this Venus, Mars, Neptune. Neptune is not always clear. If Neptune isn't really expressing the highest ideals of itself, it can be expressing something that is seemingly dreamy-like. You know, that is one of the symptoms of Neptune. Neptune is our ideals, you know, definitely our ideals. But if it's not, if our ideals are not exactly, you know, you were not tuned into what our ideals are exactly, then it may feel like a little murky. So getting in tune with that, and that goes back to the meditation practice and such I was talking about, you know, and making sure that you cultivate that will help you to move forward, and to like find that high ideal for yourself, as opposed to being not quite sure, you know, because that's important to us to get what we want. We really need to know what we want first before it happens, right? Okay, so the next midpoint is the Sun at the midpoint of Mars and Saturn. This happens on the 6th to the 8th, so that is Friday through Sunday. The peak date is on the 7th, which is Saturday. And the Sun at Mars Saturn. So Mars Saturn, just for a moment, I'm just going to talk about Mars Saturn. So Mars Saturn is almost like, I think of it as mastery of the self, because Mars is our energy. And Saturn is, like I said before many times, the letting go of things that aren't important. So in some sense, Mars in Saturn, Saturn is giving Mars the opportunity to let go of what isn't important, you know, in regards to our energy. So, you know, this is an opportunity for us to, and then the sun, of course, illuminating and shining a light on this Mars Saturn energy, is giving us opportunity to, you know, energize our vitality, one that allows us to let go and cut away of what is not real, bringing forward what is important to your energy. This would be a good time, a good weekend. You know, I know we're coming to the end of the year. A lot of people are thinking about, you know, reflecting on the last year and even the last, you know, 10 years, because we're starting a new decade. You know, are you in the space where you want to be with your energy? Do you need to do things to make it, you know, better for yourself? If you do, what is it? Do you need to start exercising? Do you need to start, you know, eating well? Do you need to start, you know, doing something with yourself energetically on a physical level to create something, you know, more energetic for yourself? This is a great opportunity and chance for us to do that. So, you know, on the weekend, this weekend, if you are in the line of thinking, I want to, you know, energize myself in some way, then maybe this is a great time for you to do that. You know, starting an exercise regime during the Sun, Mars, Saturn, I think would be wonderful, because it would be like the beginning of you continuing something. And to, you know, exercise doesn't happen, or health through exercise doesn't happen because you did it once. You need to do it cumulatively. You need to keep doing it to make it like mean something, you know. That's just the way it works. And I truly am under the belief that, and understanding that, you know, movement of the body, whether it's dance or whether it's actual exercise or cycling or, you know, whatever kind of movement, is really important to all of us, because we're just, you know, we're human creatures, just like, you know, all the other creatures in this world. They need movement too. When we sit in front of the computer all day long and that's all we do, that's not healthy for us, you know. And I think that this is a good chance for us to say, okay, what do I want to do with myself to make myself better? You know, maybe you're already there and you're doing well. Like, you know, I'm pretty good with it myself, but, you know, like, I can maybe step it up a little bit, and I definitely can. I've had a crazy year myself, but like, I'm more focused on myself than I've ever been in the last year. So it's good. I'm kind of feeling that this is the place that I need to be, and this is where I'm growing and, you know, inspiring myself to go further, you know. And I think that depending on wherever you're at, whether you're starting off or whether you've been doing it a long time, this is a good opportunity for you to actually, you know, go with it. So the next one is Saturn. The next midpoint is Saturn at the Venus-Pluto midpoint. This is Saturday through Monday. The following week, the peak of it is on Sunday. The rest of these midpoints are midpoints that begin this week and end next. So the Saturn at Venus-Pluto is, you know, it's about releasing things in your love life that you feel attracted to, but you feel are not fit for your next chapter of your life. You know, Saturn being that releasing and letting go, Venus, Pluto being that compulsive drive towards things that we love, things that we feel passionate about. You know, it's like Saturn's coming along saying, okay, Venus and Pluto, we want to reform ourselves to something. We want to, you know, regrow ourselves to something that's meaningful. And sometimes we need to close the chapter of our, you know, that book that we're writing, namely our life, you know, close the chapter so that we can open up a new one and start a new one. So if you're feeling like you're needing to let go of some people or things in your life that, you know, you've been holding on to, you might feel that even stronger come Saturday through Monday. And it's next Monday, the 9th, that it ends. So it's the 7th through the 9th. And the peak, like I said, is on Sunday. So you might be feeling like that, like letting go of things that just don't seem to be so important anymore. Maybe it's a person, maybe it's a material item. You know, Venus is about the material world, the things that we love and that we feel attracted to, whether, like I said, whether it's a person or a thing. But, you know, don't be afraid to let go of that which is not really belonging in the next chapter of you. So The next one, that midpoint that's going to happen this week and next week, is Jupiter at the Sun-Venus midpoint. This starts on Sunday and goes to the next Monday. The peak is on Sunday, so it's the 8th to the 9th with the peak on the 9th. And this is really happiness in general. This is happiness and love. This is a feeling of being loved and a feeling of compassion for other people. This is a really nice energy. So Jupiter is like making things big. What is it making big? It's making the Sun and Venus big. The Sun is shining its light on Venus, which is the thing that we feel happy about. So in this releasing that happens the same day, which is Saturn at the midpoint of Venus-Pluto, we also have Jupiter at the midpoint of Sun-Venus, and we're like letting go with the Saturn-Venus-Pluto energy, and we're also being happy about it with the Jupiter-Sun-Venus energy. So it may be feeling like, yeah, okay, this relationship, this, you know, thing that I'm holding on to, this, you know, person, place, thing, whatever it happens to be that I've been holding on to, has run its course in my life, and I'm okay with that. You know, coming to a space of feeling like you're okay, I'm good with moving forward. I think that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting for Sunday. I mean, of course, it's Monday and or Saturday and Sunday and Monday as well. You know, that these energies are in play, but the vibe is really strong on Sunday. So the next midpoint is the Sun at Mars-Pluto. This happens Sunday through Tuesday. The peak is on Monday. And the Sun at Mars-Pluto, it's a really strong energy that has us focused towards working and accomplishing a lot of things. So you might burn the candle at both ends too quickly. If you have a tendency to do that, or if you notice yourself doing that, you know, like, dial it back a little bit. You know, the sun illuminates, you know, Mars-Pluto. Mars is our energy. Pluto, as traditional astrology calls it, is the higher octave of Mars. And, you know, the two work very well together, and they can be a little problematic, like where you are just doing too much and, you know, not paying too much to the self, you're not being too aware of what's going on. So because you're so engrossed in whatever it is you're doing, this may be like you saying, oh, okay, I've decided over the weekend that I need to start this exercise thing, or, you know, giving my energy towards something. Monday, I'm going to go balls to the wall and make it happen for myself. Well, you know, the thing about doing that, and, you know, I've been all over the exercise, you know, board, from, you know, not exercising to going a little bit too much with it, that, you know, if you start off with an umph and you go crazy, and you might enjoy yourself that day, but the thing of it is you might end up like burning out really quick. So, you know, don't do that to yourself. If that's what you're choosing to like start living a little bit healthier lifestyle energetically and with your energy, you know, then do it, but do it in a gentle sense. You know, if you're wanting to focus on something that you're wanting to work on, because this doesn't necessarily mean physical energy, all it can be, because this is Mars we're talking about. But say you're wanting to build this business for yourself, or you're wanting to create something for yourself, but you do it too much, like you stay up all night making like, you know, 20 pieces of jewelry when you really probably shouldn't, you feel burned out the next day. Don't do that to yourself. Remind yourself to go, you know, a good portion of it, but not 100% all the time. You know, run at 75, 80%, and then do it the next day at 75, 80%, as opposed to 100, 100, 100, and then the next day you're dead, you know, exhausted. Do it 75, 75, 75, and then you can continue to keep that steady, as opposed to burning yourself out. So this is a good chance for us to remind ourselves not to burn ourselves out. Okay, so that was Sun at Mars-Pluto. The last one I'm going to talk about is Mercury at Sun-Mars, and this starts on Sunday the 8th, and it goes to Tuesday the 10th. The peak is on Monday the 9th, and this is a possible struggle in our minds. So Mercury, our mind, is at the midpoint of Sun and Mars. Mars being that, like, you know, kind of energetic, a little bit intense, roughed up kind of energy, and the Sun being the essence of us. It's like almost we have a struggle going on in our minds. Our mind is active, it's flowing. You may be feeling argumentative. So try to remember that this is an intense day. Monday's an intense day. I mean, the day surrounding Monday too, because it bleeds over. And by the way, if you are curious about dates, they're all listed below in the midpoints. But these, you know, this Monday is going to be coming up, is going to be kind of feisty, you know, and let it be, and let that energy run through you. Channel it in a way that's healthy, because then you can get a lot accomplished, but don't burn yourself out. You know, that's kind of what these midpoints are saying to us. You know, make sure that you allow yourself to create and be energetic, but don't burn yourself out, and do it in a sense where you're not too stuck up here and making your mind a little too hectic, because that's what this Mercury Sun Mars midpoint could be going on. So try not to struggle with yourself, because your mind is active and very busy during this time. So that wraps up my midpoints for the week. There was a lot to talk about, I know. So I'm going to move on to the 2 planet aspects and the ingresses that are going on. The first thing that I'm seeing is on Monday the 2nd. So, okay, on top of all of these like intense energies going on, we have Jupiter moving into Capricorn. That happens at 1:20 p.m. and it lasts until December 19th, 2020. So it lasts almost an entire year. So Jupiter does go through the zodiac. It takes about a year to go through each individual sign. So it takes about 12 years to get all the way around the zodiac. So it won't be back in this spot till another 12 years from now. So Jupiter being the magnifying glass that, you know, is in the solar system, and it also governs things such as travel and growing outside and thinking outside and philosophizing outside of what our normal realm is. Jupiter in Sagittarius was very much like, hey, we want to explore things in the world. We want to have fun. We want to do this. We want to do that. We want to be exploring. Here comes Jupiter moving into Capricorn. Capricorn is more like, hey, we're going to focus on business. We're going to focus on what's important. We're going to focus on the things that are more grounded, more serious. You know, that's the Capricorn energy. If you have any planets in the sign of Capricorn, Jupiter over this next year will be transiting maybe 3 times, if it retrogrades and goes back over it twice. Your Capricorn planets, it may not, but it just depends. You might want to look up your own birth chart if you don't know your birth chart, and you can see when Jupiter is actually transiting over your Capricorn planets, if you have any. I particularly have my moon in Capricorn at 0 degrees, so right as Jupiter is crossing into Capricorn, it is conjuncting my moon. It's 0 degrees 59 minutes, so it's almost a degree of Capricorn. So the first couple days of this Jupiter ingress into Capricorn is going to be affecting me emotionally very strongly, because of you know, Jupiter magnifying emotions, and I already can feel that sense, you know, and I think it's good. I think it's me wanting to like focus in on the things that are important to me, and emotionally, the things that I'm bringing from the past into the present, my traditions, my family, and that's what this whole weekend has been about for me. So it makes really good sense in my sense, but in my sense. But if you look at your own chart, and if you don't know it, you can of course get a consultation from me, or you can look it up through the video, which is in the description box, and how to look up your own chart. And you can see when Jupiter, you know, you can see what planets you have in Capricorn, and you can find out when Jupiter transits those planets, and that will be like the magnifying glass on those planets. If you have like your sun, or if you have Venus, you know, that could indicate love. The sun could indicate you, like a really positive time for you. So it's really good to know your chart. So, you know, that being said, you know, you may notice a shift of your energy as far as what you are expansive about, going from exploring the world into more you know, mastering the material world. You know, after all, Capricorn wants to master themselves and then master others, you know. So this plays out in a big way during the Jupiter Capricorn transit. You know, during this time, Jupiter also crosses over the path of Saturn and Pluto, which we've been talking about a lot. They're in the later degrees of Capricorn right now. And so there will be a very dynamic energy that's going towards skillful control. And this is something that I think is really what we need. We really need this. Like, our society as a whole needs this power and this ability to figure things out for ourselves in a skillful way. And I think that this is a good chance for us to do that. So if basically, in short, if you've been having a lot of fun in 2019 being gregarious, traveling, doing all that stuff, or at least exploring, you know, things within your mind, expect that energy to kind of shift into you know, giving yourself an opportunity to walk the talk that you have been talking, you know, because Jupiter in, you know, its home sign of Sagittarius, because Jupiter does rule over Sagittarius. It's like, hey, I can talk this philosophy, and now we're getting an opportunity to actually put it into play. So do your work, take care of yourself on a spiritual, physical, emotional, you know, level, and create the reality that you want to create. Because Jupiter being in this earth sign is like saying, hey, it's a chance for us to all create that reality that we want. And that is on a personal level as well as a global level. So I think this is important. Setting some concrete, you know, goals for yourself and building upon them is a wonderful way to use this Jupiter and Capricorn energy too. Whether or not you have planets in Capricorn, of course it will be affecting you differently, but definitely this is a chance for us all to start to put our money where our mouth is, okay? So moving on to Tuesday the 3rd, we have Mercury in Scorpio, sextile Pluto in Capricorn. That happens at 12:19 a.m. So it's early in the morning, but it will be affecting us on Tuesday. This gives us a really strong compulsion to thinking about things at this time. So Mercury is our mind, right? And then we have Pluto as like this drive, this compulsion, this almost this intensity. So it's easy for us to focus on something during this time, but make sure you're focusing on something that you want. This does like connect with the midpoints I was talking about as well. Make sure you focus on what you want. That way you will be focused on something that is healthy as opposed to something that's unhealthy. Because, you know, we're going to feel that desire to focus energy, and it's up to us to make it healthy or not. You know, that's the thing. You could also be temporarily driven to overly think during this time. If you catch yourself doing that, drop back or refocus your thinking onto something positive as opposed to something that's not good. So the next aspect that's going on Tuesday the 3rd is Venus in Capricorn making a sextile to Mars in Scorpio. This happens at 10:26 p.m. So this is giving us an ease to express ourselves during this time. Venus and Mars, you know, the feminine and the masculine energies. I mean, that's the ancient astrology, but, you know, the Venus being the energy of what we love, what we're attracted to, the beauty that we're attracted to, Mars being our energy in and of itself. You know, this is a time, and a sextile is a beautiful opportunity to harmoniously express yourself, or harmoniously put some energy action towards the planets that are making the sextile. And you know, this is, so we're going to have an ease towards expressing ourselves during this time. If you feel like you have dark secrets in your mind, because the Capricorn and Scorpio energy can be somewhat dark, they may come to the surface, but it will be easy for you to talk about them. It'll be easy for you to get them out, whether it be in the form of art, whether it be in the form of communication, whether it be in the form of like journaling. But I would encourage you to allow these things to come out of you on Tuesday. And, you know, this will last for a couple days, this energy, and give yourself the balance between, you know, the Venus and Mars energy, giving yourself the chance to balance your feminine and masculine energies. And this is a nice energy, I think. And the only reason I said about something dark is because, you know, Scorpio can be somewhat dark and Capricorn can be a little pessimistic sometimes. So if you're feeling that way, make sure you gear it back towards what you really want, as opposed to, you know, what you're not wanting to manifest. So moving on, Wednesday the 4th through Saturday the 7th, there are no exact aspects going on except for lunar aspects. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to Sunday the 8th. So Sunday the 8th, the sun in Sagittarius makes a square to Neptune in Pisces. This happens at 4:01 a.m. And of course, I didn't mention it earlier, but this is an Eastern time. These times that I give are an Eastern time. So if you are in another part of the world, you have to do the math to figure that out. So Sun and Sag squaring Neptune and Pisces. Here's a time when we can feel a lack in good judgment. So Neptune, although it's our highest ideals, can somewhat give us like we're not thinking clearly, because it can put a fog over ourselves. You know, we may say, oh, I want to think clearly, I want to, you know, think about this, but I have this dream, but it might not be, you know, a very clear dream during this time. This is a great time for you to do daydreaming. This is a great time for you to take a nap and actually dream. There is an active feeling here, so maybe a nap isn't it, but maybe some active daydreaming is a good idea, because it gives you a chance to say, okay, what do I want? Because, you know, we can never create something unless we already have the thought first, you know. So think about, what is it that you want? What do you want your reality to be? Do you want to be your own boss and have your own company? You know, if so, how do you see that working for yourself? You know, what thing would you do to create the reality that you're wanting to create with yourself? What would you do? Maybe make a list, maybe journal some things down. Maybe you want to do something really extreme, like become like a Fortune 500 business person. You know, maybe you don't want to just be something small. What is your ideal? Do you want to create something big? How would you make that happen for yourself? Do you need to go to school and get an education? You know, I think it's a great time to like ponder these things and toy with these ideas in our mind, but don't necessarily make decisions on this day, because this is a day of dreaming and thinking about things, but not necessarily a day of wanting to put action towards something, because you may feel a little too flighty to actually take action. So it's a great way to just, you know, utilize the energy of finding out what you want, and then the ability to like act on it will come later. So that is Sunday with Sun in Sagittarius, square Neptune and Pisces. The next one on Sunday, the next thing on Sunday is Venus in Capricorn, sextiling Neptune and Pisces. This happens at 4:49 p.m. So this energy is where you want to see the art and beauty in life. You have a very creative vibe going on. So Neptune is those highest ideals. Like I said, it can be kind of dreamy depending on what your dreams are. If your dreams are artistic or beautiful, that's the Venus energy. Maybe you want to do something, you know, as far as manifesting, you know, some kind of art in this time, some kind of artistic expression during Sunday. Maybe this is a great time for you to share some of your ideas that you have with the world. You know, maybe not act upon them, but share them. Bounce ideas off of friends' minds or thoughts, you know, of what you might want to create. You know, since there's such an artistic, creative energy during this time, and it's coupled with the Sun in Sagittarius square Neptune and Pisces energy, which happens, you know, about 12 hours earlier on Sunday. It's like a chance for us to say, okay, this is what we want, this is what we are feeling, this is what we're daydreaming about. And then towards the evening, it might be like, okay, so now I want to share some of those ideals with someone else, someone that I care about, you know, and kind of start to think about how can you manifest them. So I think Sunday is going to be a lovely day as far as these aspects are concerned. So that does wrap up my week ahead. I welcome you guys to join me next week. I have a lot to talk about next week. There is the full moon in Gemini. There's Mercury into Sagittarius. There's Venus conjunct Saturn and Pluto, and a lot of other powerful aspects. I know there wasn't a ton to talk about as far as the 2-planet aspects, but there was a lot of midpoints to talk about. And those midpoints, remember, those are vibrations that we are able to pick up on. We're intertwined with them, or whether we like it or not, but they're vibrations for us to tune into. So if you're trying to work on something that I talked about that was good for, you know, this certain, you know, day or whatnot, then tune into it, tap into it, create it, because you are already there. You just have to like use that energy to manifest what you want. So that's why I think that it's beautiful to look at, you know, these astrology in and of itself, and also look at it in a deeper sense with the midpoints. So thank you so much. Oh, I did want to share the gemstone for the week. The gemstone for the week this week is fluorite. Okay, so here is a piece of fluorite. It's kind of purple on the top with green and oops, white and green on the bottom. Fluorite is a cool stone. So fluorite, what it does is it absorbs and neutralizes any kind of negative energy. So it's pretty cool for that sense. Here's another piece of fluorite. I may have shown fluorite before, I don't remember. And as you can see, it's purple, green, and then white. And it's not one, you don't need a specific color. It's wonderful for neutralizing stress and helping to transmute negative energy. It's also great for absorbing and transmuting EMF energy, electromagnetic fog energy. So it's great for that. It helps us make good decisions too. And if you're learning something, it's a wonderful stone to have with you. If you're learning something, if you're reading a book about learning something, or if you're in school, keep a piece of fluorite in your pocket. When my kids were young and they were in school, I was giving them fluorite to take to school with them, because it does help boost helps boost and, you know, helps you with self-confidence, and it does help you make good decisions, as well as helping you learn easily. So that wraps up my week. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all of you. I know this has been a really long video, but I appreciate you. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think. I love you guys. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.